Hey guys, it's Debbie Potts, and I am continuing my series on how to train, fuel, and today recover for the endurance athlete. So, we're going to talk about nutritional therapy tips and tricks to help speed up your recovery and repair as you age up, as I am. So, let's look at the slides if you want, or you're listening here. The first thing we want to look at is what S Fuels is talking about on recovery plan that I liked. And I also finished up the Endure IQ program and just was researching about mushrooms adaptogens that we can add in too. So looking at nutrient timing of supplements I love to do for clients, figuring out when to take recovery fuel. I just did a great podcast with Catherine from Energy Bits on the benefits of algae for recovery and repair for athletes, but timing them. If it's not ideally for some supplements to have right after your workout, and some are better, like protein and having a little bit of carbs in there, like a shake with the glutamine and colostrum, and then other supplements are better before bed. So let's look at the timing and the benefits of everything. So S Fuels talks about recovery and longevity, higher volume training, longer, more frequent sessions, and intense racing can overwhelm. And, often it's harder as we get older, as I find, to overwhelm our physical and emotional health. And emotional part, I think, looking at this in November as I record that post Ironman, post marathon, you have that little bit of depression post race, right? It's like, all right, I've been working so hard for months and months, focusing on this A race, and now it's done and I'm off season. I don't know what to do with myself. I've lost my purpose and sense of direction in my training schedule, and now I'm going to race for something else because I don't know what to do, and then we overtrain. So it is important to take a little pause and let's talk about how to reset and recover your body at a cellular level, and then we should talk another time about mental prep and repair. So progression and to improve during the high stressed race season can be improved through targeted nutrition and really focusing on quality recovery. So if we don't work on a recovery, what's increased, Dr. Dan Plews talks about, is oxidation, inflammatory mediators, muscle tissue injury, cortisol is increased, as I talk about all the time, sympathetic nervous response is increased. So opposite of that, what's going to be decreased? Your immune resistance, your gut integrity, your parasympathetic nervous response. So we get that sympathetic dominance. And because of that, our heart rate variability is going to be decreased. So we really want to look at what we're doing, training, fueling training and performing for races now. But as I keep talking about this year, is what are you doing to improve your future self? So if you don't focus on really getting that quality key nutrition, timing it when appropriate, post-workout, the evening of, having those active recovery days, it's really damaging on our future self. If you watch people, I was seeing someone run today that was older and it just looks so stressful in her body. So if you want to be living your best life when you're 80 years old, we need to take action now on how we are training, fueling, and recovering from our workouts. So let's look at Dr. Dan Plews and S Fuels and Dan's program's called Endure IQ. We want to look at what happens, the sympathetic overdrive. I did a great podcast with Dr. Jay Wiles you can find on heart rate variability. But what happens for the athletes, especially us driven, ambitious, high performers, that we get stuck in sympathetic dominance. So sympathetic overdrive is the overstimulation of the sympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system, which can trigger difficulty sleeping, higher blood pressure, higher cholesterol, you're more nervous, and constrained blood supply to the digestive system. So Dr. Jay Wiles actually said this in the podcast we released today, that if you are eating in the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, you're obviously not in the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system. And we are not going to properly digest our food. So we have constrained blood supply to the digestive system when in sympathetic overdrive. So when you are eating in a sympathetic nervous state, it's not ideal. Okay, so cortisol, another area we need to look at all the time. Test with the Dutch test, which is 24-hour profile of your urine. You can also do a saliva test, get that 24-hour test measurement. So it's 5 points during 24-hour period of time rather than a snapshot of when you go to the doctor. They might test a blood test cortisol. But ideally, we want to get the urine and or saliva. So cortisol goes up. If you're constant triggering of cortisol from the adrenal glands, chronic stress, it's like that leaky faucet, can trigger an increase in, again, hello, this is what happened to me, weight gain. I gained 30 pounds not doing anything, slower healing, and muscle weakness. So we talk as FDN practitioners, this is related to metabolic chaos. Everything in our body systems all gets out of balance. Muscle breakdown. That's another thing. If we overtrain, don't recover properly, blood tests can measure heightened levels of creatine kinase, CK, myoglobin. Both these markers can measure your muscle damage and post-exercise soreness. So after ultra events, these markers can remain high, they say, for 2 to 5 days after a race or training. Competition high level can indicate this ongoing muscle damage after that race is completed. And of course, we have inflammation, which I just was reviewing lab tests all day today, a functional lab tests, a GI map, or you can do 3-day Genova test to measure stool test to measure inflammation in your body, and then correlate that data with your blood markers. And your Dutch test is pretty freaking amazing. To me as a practitioner to really investigate putting all these clues together for my clients. But inflammatory markers on your blood chemistry panel, you can order it through Ulta Labs. I have a link. You can ask me for it, and they always have 20% discount. These markers your doctor is not doing, and then if they do test in functional medicine, our ranges optimal are very, very different than the doctor's normal ranges. So when you get your labs from your doctor and say, hey, I'm normal, nothing's wrong with me, but I feel like crap, we want to always look at those numbers and put them in a chart to look at your optimal ranges in functional medicine. So the inflammatory markers, of course, the cytokines, you'll hear about cell messengers like interleukin 6 and the TNF. And endurance exercise can more than double the level of inflammatory markers versus pre-exercise levels. So we really want to make sure we're working on anti-inflammatory plan post-exercise and races, but not immediately post-exercise. So we'll get into that. What goes down from exercise, again, is immune resistance. S Fuels and Endure IQ talk about studies on ultra marathon finishers have shown 25% incidence of upper respiratory tract infections 2 weeks post-race. How many of you have gotten that cold sickness after a race? I can remember many times. Research also suggests a decrease in mucosal immunity, IgA, following marathon events. Again, high consumption of sugars, bars, drinks, and gels in training reduces vitamin C transport into the white blood cells, impairing immunity. So we talked about the parasympathetic tone, heart rate variability. So parasympathetic tone goes down from training excessively and racing too much, too often, and not allowing that recovery time. As the sympathetic nervous system dominates over the parasympathetic system, bodily functions as slowing of the heart rate, your resting heart rate, gut and GI motility, secretions become weakened and disorderly. So out of balance. Our heart rate variability, as we talked about, is the sympathetic nervous system gets out of balance, and the parasympathetic tone declines as the sympathetic increases and dominates. So we get this imbalance, and the variability of time between each beat decreases. And this is the marker, how we find heart rate variabilities, the beat to beat. And this can look for, this is what I use heart rate variability for. Are you recovered from your workouts? And post races, I would really be tracking this for a while. I use Training Peaks and Practice Better and Chronometer with my clients, and we can sync their data together and track how is your heart rate variability today to know if we need to reschedule a workout. Also looking at the resting heart rate, if their normal is the resting heart rate is increased, the heart rate variability is decreased, higher is better, we know something's going on. They've got too much stress in their body. So you really want to track your metrics. As I use Oura Ring, some people like Whoop. Hanu Health is Dr. Jay Wild's new company, but really looking at these metrics and putting them into Training Peaks to really help figure out your optimal level of volume and intensity and when to take an active recovery day and when you might need a little more sleep. So one more thing here on the list on this slide, gut integrity, just have longer duration, shunts blood from the gut, creating hypoxic state, which means no blood, increasing gut membrane breakdown and the flow of toxic inflammatory compounds into the blood. Heat, simple sugars, dehydration all increase this. This is why I talk about colostrum and glutamine and bone broth into a shake post-workout. So post-training fueling, we talk about for recovery, muscle damage and connective tissue, how we can improve that. We want to support that muscle breakdown. We want to reverse that. So instead of catabolism, we want anabolism, build muscle. So we want to add more protein in. And then there's protection, systemic inflammation, oxidation. We want to mitigate that damage of oxidative stress. And then there's consistency. Dr. Dan Plews talks about immunity, thyroid and adrenal recovery. So we want to look at that HPA axis. That increase in cortisol often correlates with a lower decreased thyroid and reduction in gut integrity. So when stress is on, well, blood sugar is up, thyroid goes down, insulin is increased, so we have more chance to get insulin resistance, and the more stress on our gut, the more chance we have for leaky gut. So that's great information from Endure IQ. And Dr. Dan Plews talks about recovery, protection, and consistency. So some foods Dan Plews talks about: whey protein isolate, getting polyphenols. There's Organifi that read that they have this, but polyphenols are include red wine, berries, cocoa, psyllium husks you can add into a shake. Vitamin C helps with white blood cell count. L-glutamine helps with gut integrity, recovery, and muscle strength. Collagen and vitamin C, have those together. And then quality proteins, eggs, whey, cold fish, having some grass-fed beef. And then vitamin C foods are papaya, strawberry, blueberry, broccoli, and bell peppers if you can tolerate those. Now you want to avoid high sugar and refined carbohydrates, obviously, post-workout, especially as a low-carb athlete. We want to get good quality sources of carbohydrates as some berries, maybe some papaya, frozen blueberries, and throw those into a shake with some L-glutamine, some collagen, some vitamin C from your food, and then a whey protein. I'll talk about my little recipe in a bit. So other tips S Fuels and Endure IQ talk about is what happens after your endurance aerobic exercise. So notes from S Fuels, you can go to their website, look up S Fuels Train in their guide resource. What happens is the body opens up to additional processes to allow glucose to freely flow into the muscle cells. Exercise triggers a number of chemicals as nitric oxide to be released into the bloodstream. When chemicals come into contact with muscle cells, they turn on cell transporters. You may hear this word a lot lately, GLUT4, inside the cell. Now, these transporters enable glucose to move into the cell without the need for insulin. So if you've been listening lately, we've been talking a lot about avoiding glucose spikes, but also not having the need for insulin. So if we can have more of these GLUT4 transporters helping us instead of overusing insulin, the hormone messenger to get glucose in the cell, it'd be so much better. So fructose and maltodextrin consumption can suppress GLUT4. So many of these energy drinks, gels, and bars out there that a lot of athletes consume are suppressing that GLUT4 transporter. So go back to what I just said, we're not getting that glucose transported into the muscle cell. Crazy. So more recent year, the research is showing how fructose interferes with appetite signaling in the brain, and you don't want to have that in an endurance event. So we want to look at what fuel source we're having in a race, but also post-race. Now I put all this information of different slides, the presentations, into an ebook. So if you go to debbiepotts.net, head to my website under free resources, the ebook, and you'll get a copy of all the different ebooks I put together for my presentations the last few years. So peak performance tips, Endure IQ talks about stimulating training, key markers to predict performance on race day, and monitor training and recovery. So what I look at with my clients is testing, not guessing, as I always say, looking at their glucose, looking at, if they're doing a CGM, that's easier, or just Keto Mojo, taking tests when they can. Make sure that glucose doesn't spike more than 30, make sure it comes back down to 70 to 90 as they're resting glucose levels, and then using something as Biosense or levels to figure out, or Lumen is the other option, looking at your fuel source. Get metabolic testing with someone maybe as Pnoe, as I'm going to start doing. So we want to really test, and then we want to look at our heart rate variability, look at your resting heart rate, look at your sleep score, your deep sleep, REM quality. So I like Oura Ring. So looking at that. Okay, here's my shake mix. Now, this is what I've been testing out. Paleo Valley has a new whey protein with colostrum in it. They also have bone broth protein. So if we want to get that glutamine, we want to get that colostrum, we want to get the whey protein to help with that muscle protein synthesis. We want to have a shake with protein and some carbs as frozen berries, or I said papaya, get that vitamin C. That's a great post-workout meal that's easy to digest. And then when you're ready to have your real meal, food, have that a couple hours after when you're ready to digest your food properly. What I do is I also been trying Kion has a whey protein that's unsweetened. I keep saying I can't do stevia, and I don't like monk fruit erythritol. I think they cause everyone gas, bloating, stomach issues. Stevia gives me a headache. So I've been trying to find sources of protein powder, especially whey and beef protein, and the bone broth that's unsweetened. So I can make it a better flavor. I'll add sunflower nut butter that's I can find at Trader Joe's, unsweetened. So you don't have the added sugars, or if you can do almond butter, or there's keto nuts butter that you can get at Costco. Just look for unsweetened so it doesn't have added stuff in it. Now I also put a mushroom mix in it. So medicinal mushrooms as lairds, and adaptogens, ashwagandha, rhodiola. So let's talk about what those are. So first of all, the benefits of whey and colostrum from Paleo Valley, exciting new product that they're just launching. Helps with weight loss, immune health, increased production of healthy gut bacteria, antimicrobial benefits, helps glutathione production, which is the master antioxidant and needed for liver detox phase 1 and phase 2. It also helps cognitive function, healthy blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar balance, and you can save with our code Low Carb Athlete on Paleo Valley. Now, they might not have a discount yet on the whey and colostrum, but you can use it on their other products. Low Carb Athlete code for discount at checkout for their bone broth protein. So why would you want to put bone broth? Ideally, I like Bonafide Provisions, get a nice cup of it each day, or do a bone broth cleanse once a month for the day or two. But there's so many benefits of bone broth. Now, it can boost metabolism, they say, supports gut health and digestion, helps lower the risk of heart disease, arthritis, supports joints with the collagen in it. reduces cellulite, grow healthier hair and nails. Now, this is from Paleo Valley. And then also the collagen in bone broth has amino acid glycine, which is important amino acid. Our bodies can't produce enough of it, but it's vitally important. And I know glycine, I was getting thorn capsules 3 to 5 grams and taking it at night really helped improve my deep sleep score. Again, test and not guess, because I can use my Oura ring to know, did that help my sleep or not? So I can work on my N=1 experiment biohacking on my sleep hygiene supplements. So with the bone broth protein, you can throw that into the shake or you can drink it. But Paleo Valley says when the collagen is sourced from the animal's skin, we miss out on all the extra nutrients and restorative benefits of all the bones. So you want to make sure the bone broth, the collagen protein in bone broth is a lot more nutrient dense than just collagen protein. I guess comes from the skin of the animal. I don't like to know that. I just throw it in my tea or my coffee or my shake. Okay, so I really want to talk about adaptogen mushrooms, as I've been trying to learn more about adaptogens and medicinal mushrooms, because there's so many different ones out there, and I really think it could be a good kind of biohack on your performance of taking certain mushroom adaptogens as cordyceps that helps for endurance if you take them before your workout, and which ones would be better to have afterwards for recovery, repair, immune system, and then the stress response, and then what happens if we take some in the morning or at nighttime. So really looking at nutrient timing and when to put in these supplements, I think is a key, and it's a fun thing to put together for clients when we're looking at nutritional therapy food, as well as their supplement audit I do. So Cordyceps mushrooms, that one you hear a lot about. And you can look at all the slides. I'm not going to read all of this, but I'll put this on my website. So Cordyceps rhodiola helps in the stress response and fatigue levels is one research study. And putting them together, they have a little more research on the Cordyceps for endurance, but the Cordyceps with rhodiola, that's one info slide on here. Lion's mane, another good one. Lion's mane has been shown to reverse stress-induced downregulation of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is why we say BDNF in mice. Now, mice studies are not the same as humans, but the rodent studies are what they're showing mostly. But I think there's probably more human studies on it since it's been out a little longer, using lion's mane to help stress and stress-related changes to neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, inflammatory markers in response to stress. And if you don't know about BDNF, I did another seminar on that recently that I shared, but BDNF is essential to brain function. Decreased levels of BDNF may increase your susceptibility to stress and depression. So we really want to look at adaptogens to improve our stress and our resiliency, but also looking at how we can improve our BDNF to, well, that's with like different biohacks is hot, cold therapy, contrast showers, cold therapy also does that. But I think taking the lion's mane is pretty cool research on it. So next one, Rishi mushrooms. You'll hear a lot about that. Rishi helps support the function of the adrenal glands. The adrenals secrete cortisol, which is the hormone, as we know, that responds to stress. They had a research study in male athletes that showed taking a combination of Rishi and Cordyceps help protect against stress-related damage of athletes experiencing overtraining from cycling. So cool study. A 2020 rodent study, here we go again, found that Rishi treatment reduced stress-induced brain inflammation in rats exposed to low oxygen levels and protect against nerve damage and memory impairment. Other researchers believe that Rishi's ability to protect against multiple stressors, including low oxygen levels and cold exposure, may help people get used to high altitude environments and protect them against mountain sickness at low oxygen. So if you're going to Colorado, you climbing up a mountain, you might want some Rishi. Studies in rats also showed that reishi may help protect against stress-induced anxiety and exercise-induced damage to muscle cells. So reishi, cordyceps, I think would be great for the athlete. So here's a summary. Lion's mane supports healthy nervous system, memory, focus, alertness. It's called on O Mushroom website, they call it the smart mushroom. Chaga has higher levels of antioxidants. It's an anti-aging benefits, balances metabolic system. It's a natural adaptogen, and it's called the mushroom of youth. And then reishi, we just went over, healthy immune system support, helps balance mental and physical stress, and it's called the balancing mushroom. Now, O Mushroom, their website has this list of more. So turkey tail, that's known as the immune defense and for power. Immune activator beta glucan supports healthy immune system. It's a powerful immunity activator. So turkey tail is good to have probably more in the winter time if you are around people getting the cold, as everyone around here is lately. Now, cordyceps, we talked about for vitality and endurance, supports oxygen consumption delivery to increase energy, supports cardiac function, supports respiratory health, and so we call it the performance mushroom. So wouldn't cordyceps be good to have before a workout? So maybe you can get the powdered version and put it into your coffee. There's also shiitake that supports liver, and everyone I work with needs liver support, cardiovascular health, and immune health. So this is also good for your skin. So they call this the beauty mushroom. Now, there's also Mataki that helps with weight management, blood sugar levels, has beta glucan, so good prebiotics. Bioactive compounds support healthy cholesterol, energy production, immune, heart, and bone health. So pretty interesting. I think it'd be fun to try adding more cordyceps pre-workout, maybe some reishi, and that's probably good when you work out harder. Lion's mane, maybe for work day. Shiitake, well, that's good, lowers estrogen production. So if you're high estrogen, that would be good. Let's see, chaga, anti-inflammatory antioxidant. So chaga might be good maybe evening time away from your workout. So there's some good adaptogens. And then I won't go into this too much, so you can look at the slides. There's so many adaptogens, but we want to figure out what's best for you. So you'll hear a lot about these. So let's run on these real quick and we'll wrap it up. Ashwagandha, that is something I keep reading about. So it's a calming adaptogen herb. It helps boost your thyroid function, stabilizes mood, cortisol levels, energy, concentration, reduce blood pressure, lower sugar levels, overcome symptoms of depression. And rhodiola, it's more stimulating. It helps treat symptoms of anxiety, fatigue, depression, and may protect the body from specific health conditions such as cancer and diabetes. Now, maca, we talk about all the time, and we use it a lot in my household. It's more stimulating. This is increased for libido. Who doesn't have low libido? That's an athlete. Enhances fertility and improves energy and stamina. It also is good for hormone balance. It can help relieve menopausal symptoms, and then also is shown to improve sports performance and overall mental well-being. So maca, I think, is a good go-to. Now, I just talked to a naturopath. Taking maca morning and night for 4 months. You have to be consistent to make it really effective. So, and then Dr. Anna Kabeka has a really good Mighty Maca drink that you can take each day, and that's great for hormone balance. So that's probably good for exercise as well to give you a little boost in sports performance. All right, so we've got holy basil is a calming natural antidepressant to help people sleep better, decrease exhaustion and stress. This adaptogen is high in antioxidants and nutrients such as vitamin A, C, zinc, iron, and calcium, which help protect and vitalize your body against toxic chemicals. So maybe that would be good in the evening, have like a adaptogenic sleepy time tea to help sleep. So we know about turmeric. That's adaptogenic herb, actually. It's natural anti-inflammatory, as you know, and antioxidant properties that help fight cell damage, ease stress levels, reduce your body's overall inflammation, And the adaptogen is known to boost serotonin and dopamine production and help you sleep better at night. And then ginseng, I think of ginseng as energizing. So it's used to prevent colds, flu, and increase energy levels. Recent studies also found that adaptogen has a regulating effect on stress, depression, and anxiety symptoms. Licorice root, we know about this when we work with clients with adrenal issues. These properties of licorice root can help reduce inflammation, help with upset stomach, ease menopausal symptoms, and treat illnesses as heartburn, acid reflux, hot flashes, and viral infections. And then lastly, astragalus. This is a Chinese adaptogen that helps protect the body against 3 types of stressors: physical, mental, and emotional. It's antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties that help the immune system. Also helps lower blood pressure, treat wounds, prevent colds, and protects the liver. This is a great article from the happyhealthyhippie.com blog I found. It's a really good one. And then lastly, Chandra, I'm saying that wrong, Chandra. It's a stimulating adaptogen. I've heard about this a lot more lately, especially I think Dr. Stacy Sims talks about this in her book, and really helps with hormones, neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, improves energy, clears out brain fog, gives calm energy and focus. It also helps with fitness and endurance by increasing blood vessel compliance and strengthens the mitochondria. So something to look into. I did see it's in an ingredient in a lot of the adrenal supplements I find for clients, so something to look into. Now, medicinal mushrooms we talked about, but that's something you can look at having a tea, having a coffee. Laird Superfoods has coffee, bar, creamer, just straight mushroom mix. You can get all that online or at your local store. So testing and not guessing, we've talked a lot lately, Ulta Labs, getting Dutch tests, getting your GI stool test. All this is so important to do once or twice a year. So insulin resistance, we want to look at your CGM or ketone or glucose monitor, check on that. Fasting insulin levels, we want between 2, this is 2 to 8, but like I think it's 2 to 5 is more ideal. Fasting insulin you can get for $26 in Ulta Lab. So if your doctor won't test your insulin because you're not diabetic, say you want to be preventative and not want to get to be type 2 diabetic, so you want to check your insulin. Or you can look at Ulta Labs. Now HDL levels, you want to check triglycerides, and you want to check the ratio triglycerides to HDL, your waist circumference, your blood pressure. And then other markers for your liver, and then there's ALT, AST, you want to get 20 or less. And then CRP, we want to get a test on your inflammation. Make sure you don't exercise before you do these tests because they'll be off. So NutriSense had a great article on how to improve insulin sensitivity. So if you want to learn more, let me know. I am giving 30-minute discovery calls to help figure out what's the best options for you to get started. I have 3 basic programs, one very just intro, let's go through what you're doing now, see how we can improve what you're doing and course correct. Look at nutritional therapy assessment, look at a food log and your exercise, and just see what we can adjust. And that includes 2 45-minute coaching calls. Next level, I have a little bit more investigative program that we order the functional labs, you order them, or I order them, you take the test, we go over the results, I create a protocol based on all the results, based on your nutritional therapy assessment, based on your signs and symptoms, based on your exercise, based on what you are doing and want to be doing. So it's more of a package that we go through all this, and includes 5 coaching sessions plus a results and recommendation 2-part series, and ideally continue on just checking in monthly, see how you're doing. So we look at your hidden internal stressors, chronic stress, and we collect clues and we put the missing pieces of the puzzle together to make yourself now and your future self the best that you can be. So learn more at my website. You can find the ebooks and all the podcasts and all the blogs and all the links for this podcast on debbiepotts.net. So reach out if you have questions. I also do my 6-month or longer VIP program where we do everything together, work on your nutrition, walk through your macros, your meal prepping for the week, your exercise program, training peaks, practice better, chronometer, and do it all. So if you have any questions, let me know and let's figure out how to look your best, feel your best, and perform your best in life today and later. So enjoy. Thanks for joining me.